Hi, I'm Morgan Hines in the Phocuswire studio with Gregory Yap of Singapore Tourism Board and Jared Alster of Dune 7. Welcome. We're so happy to have you here.
Great to be here. Thank you.
I think this is going to be a really fun conversation about destination marketing. So I wanted to talk first about emerging technology as it applies to destination marketing. In what area does each of you see kind of the biggest strides right now?
I think I'll take that first. I definitely think technology is really moving at such a fast pace nowadays. And it's very interesting for tourism bureaus like ourselves to see how we can kind of leverage some of that to take advantage and make it more, I guess, easy, accessible for travelers to either plan, discover, or even book their trips to Singapore. So for an example, I think the convergence of AR technology is amazing, and that technology is moving at such a fast pace. For example, we worked with Google to be one of the first 2 cities in the world to actually put AR experiences on Google Maps. Because I think one thing that we've discovered is that, how can we allow visitors to discover more interesting kind of places in Singapore beyond traditional kind of points of interest, to see where they would like to plan their trip and where to go. Yeah.
And how have you seen that play out so far? Is it spiking interest?
I think these are very early days. And the interesting thing for us is I come from the work stream in STB that does what we call future tourism. It's a great name, but I think it's all in the spirit of testing and innovation. So for us, I think we're very happy that we're not hard and fast on a lot of KPIs and traditional targets that a tourism bureau might have, but we're really testing for the spirit of innovation, and that has been very good for us with Google.
Got it. Jared, do you want to weigh in at all?
Sure. I think, from my perspective on the marketing side, AR, VR certainly, it seemed to be the buzzword du jour a couple of years ago. So it's great to hear that you're still actually implementing AR and VR technology, because AI now seems to have really taken over.
Yep.
But I think, yes, I totally agree that AR and VR for in-destination experiences and just, the whole tourist experience has a lot of promise. But now I think with AI, one of the things that we're seeing certainly is that it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And you really can't escape it. And to the extent that destinations can harness the technology, both, before pre-trip as well as in destination, I think that will sort of dictate their success.
So when you're thinking about the different emerging technologies, you've just talked about 3 really interesting pieces of technology. How would you say a destination should decide to engage with an emerging technology? What's that process look like?
I think, one example is I just read that Brand USA just hired a chief AI officer. And so I think I'm not really sure what that person's title does, but, I think you're starting to see destinations take AI a lot more seriously. And I think it's a good decision to have someone be that internal champion, because I think it takes a lot of effort and it takes a lot of education within any DMO to make sure that every department understands the power of AI, how to use it, how not to use it. So having someone be that single point of contact and speaking to the different departments, I think is a good starting point.
Yeah, and riding on Jared's kind of point, as I mentioned, we come from a work stream that was created within the STB of future tourism, and the entire kind of mandate of our team is to kind of do these kinds of pilots. I would tell other DMOs out there that it doesn't also have to start always in a big way.
Yeah.
You can always start small, pilot, test, and don't be afraid. Right.
So when you approach, since you're so oriented around what's going to work next in the future in your team, when you approach decision making around what new technologies to engage with, what crosses your mind?
I think for us, it's a couple of factors. One is I think we want to understand it for sure, and also finding like-minded partners, right? Because I think traditionally a lot of these companies that would approach us or we approach would think of it as a kind of a vendor relationship, right? And that is not really the best way to kind of test and pilot new emerging technologies. So I think the spirit of innovation and collaboration has to be there. And I go back to that example of Google. I think what was very interesting with our partnership was there was no actually money put on the table. And it was actually a lot of engineering resources that were shared between the two teams. Google had stood up their engineering team. STB, we even have our own engineering team, and we stood up our resources and jointly kind of collaborated in that way. So I think that is important when we're looking at partners. Yeah.
So partners play a big role as different organizations explore, it sounds like. So one other thing that I was curious about is obviously with this new emerging technology, not everything works exactly as you'd expect, right? So where can emerging technology help, and when might it become a hindrance if misused?
That's a great question. I think we're all still trying to figure it out, is the short answer. I mean, I heard something at Phocuswright last year that has stuck with me until today, which was people tend to overestimate what any new technology can do in 1 year, but they severely underestimate what it can do 10 years down the road.
That's actually the second time I'm hearing this. I heard it yesterday as well at Phocuswright. So I'm definitely a firm believer on that. Yes.
Yeah. So I think we're in this, we're in this gray area where everyone is testing. And so for a destination, a test might be a chatbot.
Yeah.
Very practical application, easy-ish to implement. And it starts you thinking around how can we use generative AI, which is just a small piece of obviously the overall AI puzzle, to better our communications, to surface itineraries, to surface, attractions, tours, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But then it becomes what's the next level of really integrating, AI, I think, with your on-the-ground partners. There's been a lot of talk here on the tours and activities side around is AI going to replace actual tour guides? And
exactly. And I would kind of just add on to your point about how I think sometimes these technologies, we also have to be courageous to not I guess abandon them if we find out that they're not working very well, and to share, as a tourism bureau, I think for the longest time it was very trendy to have your own tourism app, right? And we had that for a long time, and we tested and tried a lot of things with that, but we realized at the end of the day that actually a lot of consumers and travelers are not going to download an app just to discover. So we decided to actually sunset the app, and instead we are working with partners, right, to kind of test different things. So for example, in Gen AI, we're working with our China team is working with VisioTrip, which is a tourism kind of enabled AI kind of platform, where they are able to do the entire full funnel process from pre-trip discovery to actual itinerary generation and booking, all within a short span of time. So we've embarked on a short partnership with them to test these kinds of ideas. And it was very interesting. I think that our China team had actually shared with us how they're able to use Gen AI to generate kind of promotional marketing collaterals and videos about Singapore in just mere seconds, using a lot of the information that is fed to them. So I think that is interesting, and to see how that goes. Yeah.
So as we talk about the implications of AI and the applications of AI and everything, something that I've been talking a lot about in the last few months is kind of the generative AI hype cycle, especially as we approach kind of the 2-year anniversary of the launch of ChatGPT. So as you think about that in a destination marketing sense, how much of the discussion has been hype and how much has come to fruition, or do you think will come to fruition? Is it happening as fast as you would have anticipated, or?
I mean, I can start off on that one. What we're seeing overall with generative AI, ChatGPT, now Search GPT, as a search engine, is I don't know that it's been. I think it's accelerated probably slightly slower than maybe we all would have said this time last year.
Yeah.
But it is all happening.
Yeah.
And it is going to accelerate, I think, faster at a faster rate between now and next year. And so what we've been seeing, and this is across the board, not just for destinations, but really for all brand websites, is that if you're used to getting a certain percent of your web traffic from what we would call a top of funnel keyword, for example, things to do in Singapore, some of that traffic you might have seen siphoned off to Google's AI overviews.
Yeah.
And so that is definitely happening. It's been rolled out, I believe, more globally now. It started in the US and Europe, and now it's in Asia. So Google has, taken a measured approach, but now it's everywhere. So I think for DMOs, especially, thinking through ways that they can continue to drive traffic and valuable traffic to their site while also recognizing that, these AIOs, AI overviews as they're called, are probably here to stay.
Yeah. I would also agree with Jared that I think a lot of hype has happened in the last 2 years with Gen AI, and with a lot of these chatbots where everybody is producing a chatbot. But I think what the challenge is the information that it is generating, especially for destinations, because I think a lot of it's still very top line information.
Yeah.
And I think that is the key challenge, right? When you're trying to, I guess, excite a traveler about a destination of why they should visit you, if every chatbot that I go to always just lists the same top 5 kind of points of interest, especially for a repeat traveler, that may not incite them to go back again to visit Singapore, for the second or third time. And I think that's something that we're trying to crack as a DMO of how can we work with these, large language models, OpenAI, to kind of augment some of more detailed information about a destination that can provide richer information and feed it back to the traveler. Yeah.
Is that, do you mind if I just ask
Oh,
a
no,
quick follow-up?
absolutely. Go ahead.
Is that a personalization play in terms of capturing traveler data and using it to inform a repeat visit?
I think that can come later, but I think for us, it's also because we want to, I guess, go beyond, as I said, the greatest hits of Singapore, for example, and tell them about different hidden gems, about best places to eat. So for example, if you talk about best restaurants now, ChatGPT is probably going to churn out, the best like Michelin-starred restaurants or top hawker foods. But if, for example, somebody has a very specific dietary, preference, for example, vegan, and they are looking for restaurants that would be able to cater to them, ChatGPT may not be able to surface those results to them. And we want to be able to provide that kind of information more detailed to a traveler.
Or even maybe local favorites or things
Exactly.
like that.
Yeah.
So I want to circle back a little bit on what you were just talking about and see if you can give me kind of a deeper look. So when you're trying to inform your audience about a repeat visit, what are the steps that you take to really entice them to come back again?
I think traditionally and currently, it's really about what are the other things to do in Singapore, right?
Yeah.
I think, again, a lot of what is surfaced, because I guess it generates the most hits in terms of marketing, it would be the most popular kind of attractions and destinations. But what we want to tell travelers is that there's a lot more things to do. And really it is based on, as you go back to personalization, right?
Yeah.
If, for example, when I travel to a city, it's all about the food. I don't only want to eat the top 5 foods, but I really want to understand what else are the locals eating,
Yeah.
maybe in more of the suburban areas, where I get a more authentic local flavor. And I think for us as a DMO, we want to be able to surface this kind of information to entice the traveler. Like, this is what we can provide to you.
Yeah.
I think it's really challenging, right? Because even if you have very, very detailed user data on your travelers, just because I come to any destination once for one purpose, for example, maybe I'll go to London with my kids. That's a very different trip than if I were to go with my wife.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it becomes like, even though my tastes and the themes, whether it be food or adventure, might be consistent, the type of trip is going to inform my itinerary. So it's almost like you can have all the data in the world on the person, but if they're traveling for different reasons, then how can AI or tech help to like parse that out? If you know what I mean?
So could that become a marketing tactic though? Like, you've had this one experience, here's how to have it in a different sense, something like that. Like,
I think so. And more
Theoretically,
personalized offers, and now that Google's not doing away with any third-party cookies, the, I guess, benefit for travel brands is that they can still understand the behaviors and search patterns, and they know where travelers are looking on the web. So they might be able to inform, oh, this person is traveling for business. Let me send them an offer for, whatever,
got it. So how do you each see marketing changing in the next half decade or so? Are destinations going to change their tactics? What do you think is coming down the pipeline?
I would have to say that definitely I think travelers are becoming more discerning in terms of what they want. And as a destination, we definitely have to have the right mix of experiences to cater to these audiences. For example, I think that definitely is a trend towards more what we call IP kind of led attractions and experiences. And that's something as the tourism board, we're also looking at to see how can we attract more of such experiences to broaden the demographic of travelers that come to Singapore, right? How their favorite movie character or experience can be experienced in an entirely different way.
Yeah. Great.
I was going to try not to talk about Taylor Swift, but it might be time to go there. No. Look, I mean, it's whether it's her or anyone else, if you look at live entertainment, that seems to be driving tons and tons of footfall and visitation. So you look at Las Vegas here in the US, they've done an absolutely amazing job of attracting not only concerts, but sports. They have F1, they hosted the Super Bowl. And I heard a stat before that they had more people in town for the Super Bowl than they've ever had, for any casino or any classic Las Vegas experience. So if Las Vegas can reinvent themselves and move away from, just everyone goes there to, because there's so many vices available, then I think any destination can in some way.
Yeah.
Easier said than done.
Exactly. And I mean, just riding on Taylor Swift. So Singapore also hosted Taylor Swift for 6 shows, actually sold out shows. And we were the only destination in Southeast Asia. And we did really see an uptick, in visitor arrivals. And we definitely saw that movement, as with many other cities around the world. So I definitely think live entertainment is something that, people are traveling to. Even personally, I've traveled to LA so many times just to watch concerts now. And I think another area that's also growing is esports. That whole idea of getting a community together to enjoy a performance or a game, I think it's great. So for example, we've hosted a couple of esports tournaments, and even in 2026 we secured Sony's Evo Championships to be held in Singapore. So that'll be a very exciting time for a lot of esports and gaming fans. Yeah.
Definitely exciting. And I know F1 has a lot going on that way too in terms of drawing a crowd. So as we wrap up, I just wanted to ask you each what destination you think has captured your attention. Not Singapore, obviously. I'm sure that would be an easy answer for you. But is there a destination that has marketed itself so well that you've felt really drawn personally to going there as a result of their marketing tactics?
I mean, just very top of mind, just from this conference and other travel industry conferences this season, has been Saudi Arabia. I mean, what they're investing is unmatched, I think is fair to say. And it's one of those destinations for an American that, comes with potentially a lot of baggage. Yeah. But I think what they're doing to entice different demographics and cohorts of travelers is really interesting. It's on my list at some point. So yeah, I'd say Saudi myself.
Okay.
Actually, for myself, it's going to be what Jared said earlier on Las Vegas. So I went to school in Las Vegas. I studied at UNLV. And coming back now here, I really see that transformation, as Jared mentioned. I'm just amazed at how the city has been able to reinvent itself and attract such a much wider demographic, right? From what it has become from a more kind of casino gambling kind of destination to a family destination, right? When the Mirage opened, when it had that beautiful waterfall and the Treasure Island with that performance out there, to now what it is with live entertainment as well as sports. It's really broadened its appeal, as well as a lot of MICE and business event conventions that they host.
Yeah, well, maybe you guys will book a ticket after this. So thank you so much for being here. Hopefully you enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thanks, Morgan.